Ako si Attorney Darwin Cañete, and my program is Pugad Vloggers, aired every Monday to Friday from 7 to 8 p.m. dito sa Radyo Bandido, simulcast on DZRJ 810 AM, on Sky Cable, Channel 224, TV Plus boxes, and on free-to-air TV, facebook.com/DZRJ 810 AM, and our official YouTube channel. Nood po kayo!
Pugad Vloggers, ang kurap titirisin, salot sa bayan wawalisin, walang sasantuhin, ang saya-saya nakakabaliw, kasama natin ang tropang Pugad Vloggers. Pugad Vloggers.
Ayan mga kapugad, it's Wednesday evening dito sa Metro Manila and of course all over the Philippines, no? And it's time for Pugad Vloggers dito sa DZRJ 810 AM. Makikita nyo rin po ang aming programa sa iba-ibang platform, no? Tulad ng Facebook, sa Facebook page ng DZRJ 810 AM. Bukod doon, nandun din po kaming livecast sa YouTube. So sabay-sabay po yan, no? Yung mga sumusubaybay sa amin palagi tuwing ganitong oras, salamat sa inyong patuloy na makikinig sa aming programa. And we have a special edition tonight because we have a special guest in a few minutes, si Mr. Austin Ong, who will join us for the program. And of course, mamaya-maya konti, makakasama natin ang ating favorite puppy, the Tutti Puppy. Sabi ko ang Papi di Tutti Papi, ang senyor ng bayan, si Senyor Mark Lopez, but he will join us later, no? Anyway, pag-uusapan po natin ngayong gabi dito sa programa yung nangyari sa Ayungin. Medyo umiinit po yung topic sa social media sapagkat syempre, no, mga kapugad, wala namang gustong pahiyain ng ating bansa ng tulad ng ganon. There was a mission, no? There was a attempt to send supplies sa ating mga nagbabantay doon sa barko na doon sa Ayungin Shoal, no? And unfortunately, that is the place where there are many claimants, no? At isang doon ng Pilipinas. Tayo po ay nag-i-insist na atin yon. Not in the sense na parang Metro Manila, no, na court territory, but it is within our exclusive economic zone. Ibig sabihin, no, na tayo ang may karapatan upang exploit yan commercially. Pero dahil nga po doon sa arbitration sa United Nations, sinabi natin na pangistaan yan ng maraming bansa, traditional fishing grounds na nagsisurface tuwing high tide. Yung mga bato at lupain, no? Na pag high tide hindi mo na makikita, pag low tide makikita mo. 'Di ba? So it is a traditional fishing ground within our exclusive economic zone. Okay? Ang konsepto po ng exclusive economic zone ay hindi katulad ng konsepto ng pag-aari. No? Somebody should explain the difference. But nevertheless, meron po tayong nailagay na marker doon, no? Meron tayong barkong nakasalangsang doon sa Ayungin Shoal na kung saan may mga Pilipinong nagbabantay na parang ginawang tahanan o ginawang marker ng ating bansa na lugar natin may konti tayong karapatan diyan. No, at walang dahil nga anywhere, insisting it is a traditional fishing ground, we have as much right to be there. In fact, more rights to be there, no. So, medyo iba yung dating nung naging response ng Chinese Coast Guard sa atin, no? Wala namang gusto sigurong kapwa Pilipino or any vessel flying our flag to be treated that way. We feel a bit, medyo ano tayong loob, medyo may ano tayo doon. But let's be also balancing, no? Babalansahin din natin ang view. And that is why, for this evening, we will be accompanied by one of the persons na nag-aaral sa issue na ito, no? Mr. Austin Ong, who will join us in a few minutes, no? We want to see his perspective, the way he explains it, kasi wala namang gusto na mag-escalate ito eh. 'Di ba? Walang nananalo sa pagtaas ng temperatura ng issue. Kasi ang Pilipinas, 'di ba? Alam naman natin kung magkabarilan, magkaputukan, wala tayo masyadong katapat na puwersa doon sa magikalaban natin. But at the same time, ang ating dignidad, ang ating interes, lalong-lalo na doon sa mga mangingisda na nakikinabang sa lugar na yon, ay hindi natin dapat pabayaan. We are asserting, no? Sabi nga nila pag parang nangyari doon, 'di ba? Pag iyong inabando na, may pupulot. Pag iyong tinapon, so we have to keep insisting para sasabihin natin na hindi natin tinulugan ng ating interes. So there are perspectives, no? May perspektibo tayong ibabalanse. Hindi tayo naghahanap ng away, hindi rin tayo papayag na yung sa atin ay hindi mananatiling atin. This is a long-standing issue because we are not just saying na, okay, ano bang pakinabang natin dyan bukod dun sa mga mangingisda. That is not how to view the issue. Diba? Kasi for now, wala naman talagang massive. You know, ikaw magnenegosyo ka, diba? You are placing a business. When you are running a business, you're looking for profit. So profitability wala talaga. Kasi sino bang nakikinabang sa area nan? Fishermen, diba? But we are talking about future, yung kinabukasan natin sa karapatan. Because along with territorial and exclusive economic zone definitions, di ba? Pag may kapabilidad na tayo, may capacity na tayo upang exploit commercially ang area na yan, diyan tayo makakahanap ng iba-ibang resources. And what resources are we talking about? Alam natin ang seabed, di ba? Ang seabed, kasama na natin si Papi Mark Lopez. Let me just finish my point, no? Ang mga seabed, yung mga shores, di ba? Kung sa Middle East, pagbutas mo doon ng lupa ay may langis na lalabas. Ganon din po sa mga areas of dispute. Kasi nung panahon ng mga dinosaur, nung nangamatay yan, naging langis na nasa ilalim ng lupa na kailangan nating matap. Okay, sayang. Oy, Papi Mark, kumusta ang ating papi di tuti papi? Looking good, my friend. Looking good.
Nag-usap pa tayo?
Ha?
Nag-usap pa tayo sa ating tayo?
Pare, si ano yan? Si 𝗲𝗂𝗴𝗆.
Nako, sinasabi. Yan na nga ba? Ano ba? Kailangan na natin ipadala si 𝗲𝗂𝗴𝗆 sa ayungin?
Kailangan nga natin ng military assistance. Baka gusto nila magtayo ng Camp Big Falcon.
Diba? Baka we need to activate yung 𝗲𝗂𝗴𝗆, pati na sila Mazinger-Z sila Grandizer. Diba?
No, yes. Si 𝗍𝗧, huwag mo makakalimutan.
Si Erica.
Si Richard. Hindi si Darian, ha?
No, but I was listening, Papi Darwin, to your discussion, and everything that you've been saying is really what is what is really happening now there.
Mm-hmm.
And ako nga, personally, I've been trying to to espouse yung pragmatism.
Yes, pragmatism.
issue.
Exactly.
Yeah. Kasi matagal naman na tong issue na to eh. I mean, matagal na yung dispute dyan eh.
Yes.
And it is something that realistically we cannot ano ba to? Paano ba natin masasabi? Of course,
we cannot be dogmatic or emotional about it.
yes, we have to avoid being emotional about this.
Yes.
We cannot I don't think it is proper that we try to have this kind of misplaced patriotism or nationalism in this issue, ano. Unang-una nga, as what you have said, what we are fighting for there is practically sovereign rights, not even our sovereignty.
Yes.
It is not even our territory to begin with.
Yes.
Diba? So to me, while we have to I think it is only but natural that we should assert our rights, kung ano yung binigay sa ating rights diyan, but it should not be I think we have to consider who are we facing with, and also consider yung from their vantage point, from their position, ano ba yung kanila naman, di ba? And it's not only them, we're not only talking of China, but there are also other claimants.
Yes.
Dyan sa disputed territory na yan, and in the overall context of what is happening there in the South China Sea.
Tsaka alamin din natin yung scenarios dyan. Huwag tayo kaagad.
Yes.
Because number one, any response we have should be measured in terms of capability natin na to back it up.
Correct.
Mahirap yung magyayabang ka, tapos pag nagkaipitan, mag-isa ka lang pala.
Yes. Mahirap yung magagalit tayo, di ba? Mahirap yung magiging tayo na, hindi, inaapi tayo, inaano na tayo, ng binubuli tayo. Well, unang-una, between us and China, militarily speaking, di ba? I mean, that is something na we have to face the reality that, we cannot be head-to-head with China. In terms
kasi,
of military might.
If you remember, this is not the first face-off we had with China.
Yes.
Nagpadala si Noy ng during his time nung warship natin.
Yes. 𝗕𝗵𝗱. Yes.
So, anong nangyari? May communication. Umatras.
Yes.
May meaning yun sa international communication. Umatras.
Correct.
Diba? Gusto ba natin mag-same scenario dito na magpadala tayo ng military units and then uurong pag masyado ng mainit?
Yeah. Diba? I really subscribe to what you have been saying about, let's try to approach this as really as rational as possible in terms of capability natin, ano ang reality natin, and again, and also we have to look at it, di ba, overall in the context nga of what is happening dyan sa South China Sea and in that geopolitical issue.
Hello, Sir Austin Ong. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Magandang gabi, good evening. Dalawang maginoong tagahanga-hanga ng bayan.
Parang parang black is beautiful today.
Oo nga.
O nga pala, baka sabihin nyo, binubuli namin si Mark dahil dalawang singkit kami nandito sa interview, no?
Kasama ba si Mark sa singkit pag ngumiti?
Nawawala mata ko.
Kasama ako sa singkit.
Oo nga.
Oo. Meron ako maraming beses ako na napagkakamalan akong either Chinese, Japanese, Korean.
Pwede pang sumo wrestler.
Pwede.
So anyway, para sa mga hindi nakakilala kay Mr. Austin Ong, sir, please introduce yourself to our listeners in Pugad Vloggers.
Magandang gabi. Good evening to our watchers. I'm Austin Ong. we are part of Integrated Development Studies Institute. It's a Manila-based think tank that looks at global issues that affects the Philippine development, Filipino nation building, as well as practical and integrated analysis on issues. So we help our country understand what is happening with the rest of the world.
You're also a columnist for the certain, you're also a published author, sir, and columnist, correct?
Yes. Okay lang ba banggitin? Is it okay to mention?
Go ahead, go ahead. Writer din yan, kasama mo yan eh.
We have a weekly column on Manila Times under 𝗕𝗵𝗴𝗱 Corner, or titled New Worlds.
And of course, our friend Mark Lopez also has his own column with, saan pare?
Well, I used to write with the Daily Tribune.
Hindi na.
But
Pala, sorry.
hindi, it's just ano lang. Actually, beginning this week, I have stopped. I already, huminto na ako.
Okay. But in any case, we like to ask Austin, no? What happened in Ayungin from what you are able to find out from what the incident?
When we're looking at the issue, we should always ask who stands to gain, who stands to benefit. As we know, it's also important to look at the history, no? We know that this Sierra Madre, BRP Sierra Madre, it's a Philippine ship. Now it's a rusting ship in the middle of Ayungin Shoal that was grounded there in 1998. So the question we should be asking is what happened, because the recent issue is reportedly Chinese Coast Guard ship used water cannon on a Philippine resupply vessel. But what is often not reported in the mainstream media is another Philippine vessel completed its mission just in resupplying our Filipino soldiers in BRP Sierra Madre in Ayungin Shoal that they have been doing for the past 25 years. And China Coast Guard, China Navy ships did not just appear overnight, no? So this resupplying has been going on for the past 25 years. No issue. The question is, why is it now becoming a hot item, no? And it is unnecessarily raising tension. And that's something that we can start from.
Nakamute ka.
Pero it's true, di ba, that the Chinese indeed use water cannon on one of our ships?
That's correct. So question is, there are videos, no, that there was water cannon. The question is, why now?
That is actually what I wanted to ask is why was it? What happened? Because sabi mo nga, previously, meron namang mga supply run.
The past 25 years,
the last 25 years that has been going on.
Right.
And there is the presence of China there. There's the presence of the Philippines there. There's the presence of Vietnam and Malaysia. So,
right.
Yeah. So what happened? And one ship was able to complete its supply run.
Correct.
And another ship was no. Yeah.
Yes. According to the Chinese reports, that the second Philippine resupply boat. Actually, when we say vessel, it can be a big ship, it can be a small boat, no?
Yes.
The Philippine Armed Forces of the Philippines, National Security Council, and the Philippine Coast Guard and the DFA had a press con, and they showed pictures. So actually, the Philippine side used, when we had this resupply run, we use a chartered, we call it a chartered, basically it's a fisherman boat that we charter to deliver the food, water, and medicine.
A fishing troll.
Sorry?
Fishing troll, yung ginagamit sa pangingisda na
That's correct.
The vessel, yeah.
Maybe a little bit bigger than a normal fishing boat because you have to go to a certain distance. No, basically Ayungin Shoal, if you look at the map, it's on the Spratlys group of islands, and that we have been using basically a neutral, non-labeled resupply boat to deliver the basic living goods, no, necessities. Now, according to the Chinese version, the second boat that they stopped, which they admitted that they water cannon to prevent it from delivering construction materials, which until now our Philippine government agencies have not refuted. The only thing that they are doing is they're muddling the discussion, saying that China Coast Guard water cannon Philippine boat, no? But if you in fairness, no, the National Security Council and then that was Assistant Director General level and the Armed Forces of the Philippines also admitted that the Philippine boat successfully supplied, and actually we do it regularly. So if you look back, sometimes the so-called experts, no, or the critics, they want us to focus on a single event as if it's a black and white David versus Goliath. Of course, we understand that sells drama and conflict sells in media, no. But what's the danger here is because when we escalate and it becomes an emotional issue and of course it's sensitive, no. What is ours is ours. We should fight for what's ours. But why is the media only portraying just a limited version? And when we talk about the history, yung kasaysayan ng ng insidente, sabihin nila hindi importante yan, di ba? Sapan lang natin yung nangyayari ngayon.
Pero di ba, when sabihin natin, let's admit, for the sake of argument, construction materials nga ang dinadala ng second ship na yon, at hindi lang basta supplies.
Yes.
Aren't we are not militarizing the pool. I don't think we're militarizing the area naman. Siguro they just want construction materials because that place, yung the ship might collapse at any time.
You always ask the hard-hitting question. That's the correct follow-up question, lawyer. Because again, no, we're not saying whether it's right or wrong. As we know in international foreign policy, there's no right or wrong, no. It's national interest. It's whoever has occupation, there's a saying that the national interest comes first, right? But according to the Chinese version, again, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. We're just saying because for us to move forward, we have to understand the other side's position. And then they give their position, we give our position, and then we negotiate. So according to the Chinese version, there was a gentleman's agreement when we grounded the 𝗣𝗲𝗡 Sierra Madre in 1998. I think that was around Ramos or at the end of Ramos Erap's time, that the Philippines said the ship broke down and we will remove it. It was a temporary grounding of the ship, and after a few months, we had not removed it yet. The China said we will remove it for you because the Philippines had reportedly said that we did not have the resources or the equipment to remove it, no? Long story short, lo and behold, for the next 25 years, it's still there. But for China, and by the way, there's a 2001 declaration of Code of Conduct, Declaration of Conduct, no, which among the claimant states, and Mark mentioned it earlier, it's not just Philippines and China. There's Vietnam, Malaysia, Indonesia, Brunei, also Taiwan. Excuse me, that whatever you have, you can maintain, but do not increase the presence or the occupations. No, so there's that non-written agreement, that status quo, and then for China, of course, any as you said, we don't know if the construction materials is just to repair the rusting ship. No. Yes. There's a very sad example, no, that we're fighting over a rusting ship. I think there's about 10 Filipino soldiers there. Yes. Our good friend Sas Rogando Sasot, international relations expert, calls it a non-performing asset. But in Sabah, where we have natural resources, oil, natural gas coming out of land, we have 500,000 Filipinos. We have clear ownership title. Attorney Darwin Cañete, you know that the title of ownership of land is more powerful than maritime ocean rights. But we are not even talking about Sabah. We're fighting. I have some Vietnamese, Malaysian, Indonesian friends. They said, Austin, why does the Philippines want to fight the giant in the neighbor? But Malaysia has 33 million people, and we're not even discussing Sabah. So that's also always a question from our neighbors, no?
I want to frame it kasi from the viewpoint of our interest kasi.
Yes.
if we allow the ship to degrade, that is one less argument for the Philippines in establishing its exclusive economic zone.
Yes.
Because we have no tangible, wala tayong tangible na symbol. Kasi it's, for me, there's a bit of symbolism eh.
I agree.
Habang andoon yung BRP, ano ba yung pangalan nun?
Padre.
Oo,
Sierra Madre.
Sierra Madre, there is a solid, constant presence of Filipino in the area. So, hindi mo maalis sa isip na
That's correct.
the Philippines will like to maintain its existence in that area.
On the Philippine national interest, you're correct. We fight for it. Then let's fight. Let's prepare and fight China for it. But let's not play the victim card when in fact our Philippine vessel was able to successfully resupply the as we have been doing for the past 25 years. If we want to maintain and reinforce our position, we prepare to fight for it. But we should not let another country use us at our detriment, at no national interest, because as you said, if it's our national interest, we fight for what is our presence there. But at the same time, we risk angering China. Okay, let's fight for it. But for economic and trade costs, are we ready to fight for the BRP Sierra Madre? But we have to prepare for it, no? And we cannot blame anyone of the consequences.
Let me play devil's advocate because I look like the devil. Anyway, if we are going to say na idaan natin sa rule of law and negotiation, diplomacy, we've been sasabihin ng mga critics of China na we've been trying to get them to the table. In fact, we asked for arbitration. That is a non-aggressive way to settle differences. We invited them to talk to us, ma-arbitrate tayo. Hindi nila pinansin until there was a ruling. Are we now, di ba, parang for us, for some people, that amounts to say abandonment of the rule of law way to negotiate the results of of our issues.
That's correct. You're the legal expert, so I will not touch on your. But what we can look at is on a geopolitical and a logical assessment, no?
Yes, yes.
Clause, there's an opt-out mechanism. So Ambassador Rosario Manalo, a veteran ambassador who's actually the mother of the current Secretary of Foreign Affairs, she has a video interview, no, where she said that Philippines and China actually opted out of that arbitration. It's like a prenuptial agreement. If the woman goes into a marriage with a husband and signs a prenuptial agreement, and then the husband becomes a multi-millionaire, and then they get a divorce, the woman cannot claim that I'm the wife for the last 20 years. I have the right to get half of your inheritance. The point of a prenuptial agreement is the fact that when you have a divorce in the future, the wife or the husband is not obligated to follow the 50% traditional standard of the law. So number one, no, so that's not being presented, no, usually in discussion of the arbitration, that Philippines and China and many of the countries opted out of that forced arbitration. Number one. Number two, when you mentioned that IDS had already proven this as fake news, no, because there were several times where Albert Del Rosario said that China refused to negotiate. In fact, it was in the Inquirer or Philippine Star front page that China ambassador at that time had publicly called for the Philippines to negotiate, sit down on the table. But
to be honest, hindi ako masyado fan ni Albert Del Rosario because as far as I know about that guy, meron yung silang interest on, as far as I know, no? Yes. Interest on the mining and resource area because I think they formed some sort of cartel or
forum,
di ba? And there is this NGO that they formed, Strat-based yata.
Albert Del Rosario Institute.
That keeps pumping all these papers.
For the interest of the audience, can I share screen? I'll just show 2-minute video. Is that possible here?
Tech, can you provide video?
Yeah, it's just a 2-minute YouTube video. Is that possible?
Baka hindi copyright. Problema namin copyright hindi sa amin.
No, we've already given credit. It's a forum from our friend.
Okay. Sige, let's ikaw Mark, what do you think?
Yeah, pwede yan. I think that's already, if it's in YouTube naman,
It's correct.
yeah, unless it's already yung mismong algorithm ng Zoom ang magpipigil. But I think it can be shown.
Thank you. Okay, I'll show.
Teka, wait.
With Monday.com, you can connect your work apps in one place. Start by creating a clear workflow.
Yan ang walang ko.
Yeah.
This is the veteran ambassador Rosario Manalo explaining the opt-out mechanism of the arbitration. No.
Okay, go ahead.
An international law, an arbitration was not set up correctly when we claim our right to the Kalayaan Group of Islands. I was breaking my brains trying to find out from international law books authorities what is an arbitration tribunal. And everywhere, an arbitration tribunal calls for three parties. The two who are claiming whatever they're claiming, and between the two, the selection of an umpire. And when arbitration is carried out, it is always voluntary. Under the UN Charter, it is always voluntary. However, in the UNCLOS, there was a provision or an attachment or something that made arbitration as a mechanism for solving compulsory under the UNCLOS. But the Philippines, when we ratified and approved the UNCLOS, we opted out of that provision, which means hindi natin gagamitin yung compulsory arbitration. We just didn't want it. All right. Without even us talking with the Chinese or wherever, equally the same, the Chinese opted out of that provision. So, both the Philippines and China cannot invoke compulsory arbitration under the UNCLOS because we both opted out. So what is the remedy?
Thank you for allowing me to share that.
This revolution.
Okay.
That's it. That's a ad. Okay. Yes.
Exit.
Yeah.
There.
Na-cut yung video but later on, she also said that in the Pinoy administration, of course, we know it's not the president, no, it's the people around him, had, wanted to get a third party involved, no, because one of the accusation against China was China reneged on the deal on mutual withdrawal on Scarborough Shoal. No, but it only came out during President Duterte's time that when the Philippines withdrew, claiming that the Chinese reneged on that negotiation, the Philippines was not present during the negotiation. It was only the US and China. So Albert Del Rosario, our former Secretary of Foreign Affairs and our Philippine ambassador to the US, 𝗕𝗨ciꞌ𝗴𝗏, allowed the US, and we were following the instructions of the US. No, so this came out when President Duterte's Foreign Secretary Alan Peter Cayetano challenge Albert Del Rosario na ano ba yung talagang pinag-usapan ninyo with the Chinese for us to claim that China withdrew on reneged on its commitment, no, to withdraw in the Scarborough Shoal. So just to point out, no, that there are many of these untold narratives and untold facts that gives a more holistic picture of developments.
Pero again, devil's advocate again.
Yes.
Assuming that Albert Del Rosario incompetently handled the Scarborough Shoal standoff, are we to be bound by his incompetence?
No, we're not. Yeah, that's correct. The question is, who is the one behind? Why? How did we first of all get? Because none of us want to get used. We don't want other parties. If we want to fight for what's ours, let's fight for it based on our national interest. But if we're fighting for it because if someone is telling us, and they want to create a bogeyman, and we know which country that is. They already have 9 military bases inside our mainland, whereas we're fighting for, as you said, occupation in the middle of the sea. that we should fight for if it's ours. But if people are starting to lie about it and media is starting to sensationalize isolated incident, then that is something that we should all be worried about.
Actually, that brings me to that point, na we have to learn the lessons of Scarborough Shoal, that standoff.
Yes.
And like what you said, Papi Darwin, we are not bound by that incompetent moves of the previous administration.
No, the administration before that. The previous administration is
the Pinoy administration. Oh. I mean, we should not be bound by that, and we should take it from that we should learn the lessons of that. So in my point of view is that we should be talking to China. We should talk to China. We should not be like this emotional, like this trying to say that, China is our enemy now, and we have this kind of narratives now that parang the people are being, ginagalit, parang inuudyok, diba? So to me, tapos we have government officials now saying that, we should ban this China firms, diba? And all.
Yung reclamation doon sa malapit sa embassy, gusto nating alisin, no?
Hindi, tsaka iban daw ang mga Chinese infra firms na from taking part in our mga projects. So, this kind of reckless and irresponsible
But the Chinese are in NGCP, tapos yung equipment natin sa telecom puro Huawei.
Yun nga sinasabi ko eh. Pagka ganyan, what if China retaliates, di ba? With crippling economic sanctions to us. Kaya ba nito mga officials na ito sagutin yung madi-display sa atin economically?
Remember what happened after Noynoy when Scarborough, our fishermen were not able to access it kahit na anong law ang ating iniimbok.
You know what happened there? Not only that, not only yung fishermen natin na napigilan, but banana exports were banned. Tapos tourism, Chinese tourists were not di ba? Were stopped from going to the Philippines. And sabi ko nga, di ba, China is now the world's leading economy, and how do you blackmail China into submission with what we have right now in terms of our economy?
Also the biggest creditor yata of the United States. If they call in all the debts, US will be bankrupt tomorrow.
Diba? Yung pinakita kong video kanina, while it is just this is just a television series, but it is very true. Yung sinabi doon ng Chinese minister that in the year 2000, China holds only 6% of the foreign debt of America. But now, sabi niya, we have 21%. We hold 21% of your foreign debt. And sabi pa niya doon na, if we go after you, the US and even Russia, because, we hold trillions in securities sa US and hundreds of billions in securities sa Russia, ang sabi ng minister, we will not do it with missiles and cyber attacks. We will just repossess you. Di ba? No, ngayon, my point is that yung sinasabi mo, Papi Darwin, kanina about the reason why BRP Sierra Madre is there is tama naman yun eh. It's basically symbolic.
Yes.
Basically, what that structure there is all about is for us to maintain that claim of ours. Because we have a claim. As China has its own claim, as Vietnam has its own claim, as Malaysia and other countries there. And the BRP Sierra Madre is actually our leverage. More than anything else. Kung titingnan mo, wala naman talagang pakinabang tayo dun sa BRP Sierra Madre. And it has no weapons. It has no capacity to do anything. Na yun, di ba?
just to add, no, a outpost that cannot sustain life does not generate any EEZ.
Yes.
The fact that we are resupplying our outpost there is already a point against us. So it does not generate any EEZ, no, number one. Number two, if we're talking about the UNCLOS and kung ano yung karapatan natin, what is our right under the law, the UNCLOS, ironically, and this was exposed again by our international relations expert, Sasrogando Sasot, that the UNCLOS actually invalidated the KIG, the Calayan Island Group of Islands that President Marcos Sr. had geniusly obtained for the Philippines. No, if you look at PD 1596, Marcos had claimed the KIG, and by it's a group of islands, rocks, and reefs. No, and if we just control the major points there, we control it because we drew a group of island perimeter. No, so the UNCLOS actually that was promoted by the ano bang what do we call those groups? The Albert Del Rosario group actually lost us territory and downgraded our islands, group of islands into
Rocks.
and
LTEs.
LTEs. That's correct, no? So what are we fighting for if you're talking about national interests?
No, more on national pride. Because syempre, di ba, pag you are trying to drum up claims on those resources for commercial exploitation, may mga negosyanteng papasok dyan eh. Mga mamumuhunan sila dyan eh. Certainly, it's better for them to do business with the Philippine government rather than the Chinese government. That's my take there.
Well, yeah.
Why did the top billionaires of the US, Elon Musk, Bill Gates, JP Morgan, Jamie Dimon, Tim Cook go to the US after the US Biden government, White House was threatening to escalate the trade war with China? If businessmen do not want to do business with the Chinese, I think that will be a different world altogether.
Yeah, I think what Papi Darwin is saying is that, you know, for the Philippines, kasi that the fight in that area, our claim for sovereign rights for the use of that exclusive economic zone is really in the grand scheme of things. Syempre, tinitingnan din ng Pilipinas yung kanyang economic interest in that area.
Yes.
The potential of that area insofar as contributing to how can we exploit its resources.
Malampaya is running out of gas.
Yes, oo.
And,
so in that regard, we are fighting for that right. And as it should be. Tama naman yan.
Correct.
Diba? Tama yan. As China is now fighting also for its sovereignty. Dahil sabi nga ni Austin, tayo, we used to fight for that, yung sovereignty diyan when it was Kalayaan Group of Islands. Dahil nga archipelago eh. Dahil yun ang paglaban mo dapat eh, to claim sovereignty. Pero after the 2016 arbitration, we downgraded ito nga to LTEs na. So wala tayong karapatan ngayon magsisigaw na inaagaw yung teritoryo natin. Wala na tayong right to say that it is part of our territory or it is part of our sovereignty.
But that's not the legal definition. Sa puso ng Pilipino, ilalaban natin yon because ang definition natin ng atin.
Yes.
We disregard the definition, the legal definition. It's the feeling eh.
And that is now the danger nga of trying to be emotional, di ba?
Yes.
That is the danger of being emotional, especially if ang alam natin, may pinaglalaban tayo. Paano nga, pinapamukha natin sa mga Pilipino, itong mga nag-uudyok ngayon na sinasabi, atin yan, kaya dapat ipaglaban natin yan.
Pero may nuances kasi sa international law.
Oh, yun nga. So yun ang dapat malaman ng ating mga kababayan that, you know, this is not as easy or this is not as simple as saying that, you know, invoke natin na this is Philippine territory, this is ours, and we should fight for it. Because China is also claiming the same.
Tsaka nilaglag tayo ng arbitration na yon dahil na-file yon at ang resulta, we made a claim that we could not, it turns out, mali. We claim it as rocks and na-downgrade. Ikaw nga nagsabi, na-downgrade eh.
Di ba, sinasabi ko nga, China is also claiming it as, it's sovereignty na nila yan. So, in terms of how to settle sovereignty, there are only two, di ba? You can either use force,
Correct.
or you can use diplomacy.
Correct.
And settlement in an international setting.
Correct.
Oh.
But just to add, Mark, walang international third party has ever resolved a territorial dispute. It has, as you said, gone to war or diplomatic.
It's either you go to war, you use force, and diplomacy. And even in diplomacy, pagdating sa diplomacy, it is not even like one will be winning over the other. It will be like a settlement or an agreement that, would be win-win for both parties, di ba?
Okay, I will again play the devil's advocate. We are not talking about equal parties here. Pag tayo lang makipag-usap sa China, we're obvious at a size disadvantage.
Ayun na.
So, kailangan natin ng konting backer.
Buti sana kung ganun nga ang di ba? Na,
problema natin yung backer may kailangan din sa atin.
Hindi.
Meron ding balak.
Hindi lang sa atin. Hindi lang sa atin.
Darwin and Mark. Kasi when we're talking to China, when we're saying bilateral negotiation, we always play the victim card na maliit tayo, malaki ang China.
Yes.
But when we talk to the US, we want to talk bilateral without a backer. Diba? Kumbaga, we have to be clear and consistent in our definition. But just to add, pandagdag lang, yung PD 5096 ni Marcos Sr. on when he claimed the Client Island groups, and you can see how visionary and genius the guy is, because there's a colatilia there. In that PD 5096, which our viewers can confirm, he put there, in case in the future the other claimant parties appear, we will negotiate. Ibig sabihin, because we were claiming may mga ibang partido dyan kiniklaim na atin yan since time immemorial, no?
Yes, yes.
So President Marcos, to add that condition, ibig sabihin, he is cognizant of the fact that just because nobody's occupying that place at the moment does not mean wala siyang claimant in the future or in reality, no? Number one. Number two, nabanggit mo, Pops Darwin, no, na malampaya. But as we
running
know,
out of gas, yeah.
only 10%, 90% goes to the US and the British companies, and they made us to pay the taxes. But China, under Pinoy and President Duterte, offered 60% profit sharing in favor of the Philippines, and the capital expenditure will be advanced by China. Ang hiningi, again, we're not saying right or wrong, no? As you said, international politics, walang tama or mali, walang black or white, everything has nuances, no? Ang lumabas dyan, China is willing to give Philippines 60%, number one. Number two, may condition nga lang na let's not talk about ownership, let's just talk business, no? Of course, the US did not want that, so na-jeopardize nung mga secretary ni President Duterte near the end of his term, DFA Locsin unilaterally canceled that joint development negotiations, no? Again, at the loss of the Philippine economic interests.
You know, I was really disappointed. We're not doing joint explorations eh. Kasi non-political yun eh. Commercial commercial transaction lang yun eh. But why we had to elevate it into a question of patriotism? Pera ang habol natin dito para ma-exploit yung area.
Wala tayong kasi no even American companies will not go into an area that has a dispute. They are
Isa pa yan. I mean, yung mga sinasabi nito mga officials ngayon that let's ban China sa contractors, ganito, ganyan. So, anong gusto nila? May alternative? Meron ba silang ipapalit na American?
Sila dapat magpalit ng alternative. Wala.
Diba?
Because right now we're fighting for economic rights. We're spending time and resources to fight for economic rights. But there is no plan for commercial exploitation that I know of.
And just to add, we have Benham rice. Walang dispute ang Benham rice. That is a proven gold mine of natural resources. No, in fact, even China was one of the first supporters when the UN decided that the Philippines has the sovereign rights on those Benham-Rice natural resources, no? Pero we're not even studying how to explore and exploit it. And of course, as we mentioned earlier, Sabah.
Pero
I cannot help but think that, with what happened with Iraq, that after concocting a weapons of mass destruction narrative,
Yeah, that's
diba?
correct.
That Iraq has weapons of mass destruction, dinusob and they took out the leader of Iraq, Saddam Hussein. Tapos, ano nangyari? Pumasok ang mga American companies. And sila ngayon ang nag-ano doon. Sila ang kumuha ng mga infrastructure requirements doon. So,
Pero,
I mean, dito, why are we trying to say that, why are these officials now shouting that, blacklist siya? Meron ba tong is there something here that, more than meets the eye?
That's correct. Mark, hindi lang the US companies taking over Iraq's natural resources, no? At billions of profit, but they left the country into a war zone. Kasi itong si Saddam Hussein, he's no saint, no? But he was able to keep the country kasi marami yung mga tribal warlords.
Not even Iraq. Let's look at Lebanon.
Sa totoo lang.
That's Libya.
Sa totoo lang, yung post-Saddam Hussein assessment ng CIA, which I read in a book, ang sinasabi nila doon, it is actually better with Saddam Hussein dahil may leader that, can really control his people. And, it could be a stabilizing, it is more, there is more stability with Saddam there. Pwede naman nilang, constantly na inaano lang di ba? Si Saddam. But when they took out Saddam, gumulo ang Iraq. And I think this is even what spawned itong mga ISIS.
It is connected. Yes, that's
diba?
correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Siguro as a last word on the issue, I'm just hoping sana pag ganitong mga situations, wag naman water cannon. Na parang masakit sa dibdib, masakit sa dibdib eh.
Hindi, Papi Darwin, ako nga actually, ang tanong ko is, if China really wanted to hurt, bakit hindi gumamit ng talagang puwersa? Bakit hindi talaga nag-fire ng doon?
Wala bang fire? Wala bang mga quitis lang? Pwede naman 'yun, yung may kulay na maganda yung Chinese fireworks.
Pinaliwanag din ni Sas Rugando sa sa kanyang post about the use of water cannons, di ba? So it's really more of sending a message. Wala naman nasaktan dito na water cannon, right?
Yeah, Papi Darwin, can I have one more share? This one is
Go ahead.
Media shared it, but this is an exclusive video. Siguro ikaw makakaunang magpapakita nito.
Sige, go ahead.
Actual drone footage of that so-called water cannon incident, no? Can you see it?
Yes, I can see it.
Yeah.
So, ang tawag ng media natin na water bombing, water attack, ito yung tinatawag nilang no? Can you imagine if tama si Mark, no? If China really wanted to hurt us, number one, look at this. It is more of a football, soccer play perimeter defense. Number one. Number two, water cannon is actually the least, what's the right word? Aggressive posturing. If you remember the 𝗣𝗲𝗃 Reef, yung na-crash yung US warship sa 𝗣𝗲𝗃 natin, when the Philippine officials tried to climb on board the US Navy ship, tinutukan tayo ng barel. That is a common, you cannot enter a US military asset. Barel ang katapat natin. So, ayan lang, it just shows na it did not even reach the Philippine fishing vessel, no?
Mukhang hindi nga tinamaan,
They call it bombing. I can show you headlines, no? Bombing, attack. Meron yung dati yung military grade laser daw, di ba? The Chinese...
is this video shown in public?
Hindi ko pa alam kung lumabas. So, I'll
So may exclusive tayo.
exclusive kayo.
I mean, it should be highlighted, di ba? I think this should be highlighted because the feeling that we get in social media, the temperament is that, inatake ang Pilipinas.
Yes.
Inatake ng China, di ba?
And nakakababala, no? But just to add on, Mark and Darwin, if I may have one more sharing. Yung sinasabing fake news sa weapons of mass destruction, many of the wars, yung Gulf of Tonkin, yung Vietnam War,
Yes.
na countless Vietnamese died, the US invaded Vietnam using chemical agent orange na hanggang ngayon yung mga biktima, parang mukhang monster pa yung mga bata ngayon, decades later, no? It all started from a fake news, and itong tawag dyan false flag, no? Itong Pilipinas nasakop din ng Amerika noong 1898 because of the USS Maine that was later on proven to be fake news na pinasabog daw ng Spain, no? So marami tayong dapat paglabanan, ipagtanggol, but we also have to be careful that we are being used by a greater force at our detriment.
Siguro, like I said, no, it's already 9:56, so I'll wind this up, no. Ang sa akin lang is the president's, we hope that can resolve this matter, protecting the interests of the Filipino people at syempre, to be firm in our rights, but at the same time, let us maintain our friendship with all countries involved, no. Keeping in mind our national interests first and foremost. Yun ang sa akin lang.
Thank you. Thank you,
bro.
Papi Darwin.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure. Good to see everybody.
Yes. Thank you sa mga kapugad natin. Thank you for joining us, mga kapugad. Stay tuned for the next program, Oras ng Himala, followed by Kakampi with Bernard Tan. Hello to my wife and my two children, Wilma and my two kids, Grace and Sofia. Mama Vilma. Kayo, bro, mayroon kayong babatiin?
Hello to all the girls I've loved before.
Austin.
Kakanga ni Mark at Papi Darwin, sabay din ako minsan.
Yes, okay. Thank you so much, mga kapugad. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Austin. Thank you, Papi Mark, for joining tonight's program. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Mark. Magandang gabi.
Pugad Vloggers, Pugad Vloggers.